Welcome to Everything Irie TV UK Drummers Special Edition. And this is season 1. On this podcast, we will be talking to drummers who have made impact in gospel and secular. Some have played for world-renowned artists. Some are even artists themselves. Today, my special guest has played for the likes of Leona Lewis, Beck. He is the current drummer for the legendary, the iconic Van Morrison. He also is an artist, and his artist name is Kleet, and you can find it on all digital platforms. He is also my former drum tutor. Please put your hands together for Mez Clough.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with me today.
Absolute pleasure. So how else are we going to catch up? You know, we'll never see each other, will we? But no, thanks. So really, it's an honour for me. And I'm not nervous at all, am I?
But before we start on your journey, just for me personally, I just want to say a big thank you to you. Because, you know, you have impacted so much drummers that are in the scene now. So, you know, you've got Charlene, who's doing Cat Burn, she's doing well. David Staniforth, he's doing, he played for Edit Air. He's doing more studio stuff now. You know, Dwayne Robertson, he's doing a lot on the, he's done a lot in the gospel scene. Yeah.
Well,
so there's so much drummers that you've made an impact on. And the thing is, St. Andrews was a Christian school. And a lot of us grew up, and a lot of us grew up in church. So we had one way of thinking. And in the gospel, you know, you've got gospel R&B, gospel hip hop. So we just had one way of doing things. And what I like and what I appreciate is that you never tried to make us sound like how you wanted us to. No. Meaning that you could have easily said, no, this is the right way. This is how you need to sound. And we were young and valuable. You could have easily done that. But what you done is you were like, you know what? This is your style. All I'm going to do is just add on to what you're doing. So what you done is made us play the different styles of music and play it authentically. You know what I mean? So even, for example, you put me onto Sergio Mendes from year 8. It's only now later on, everyone's talking about Sergio Mendes. I know he recently passed away. But so a lot of people's been talking about Sergio Mendes. I'm like, I've known about this guy from year 8, from Mez. Yeah, so you know what I mean? So what I really appreciated is that you wanted us to keep our style, keep our flavour, but just add on to that. You know what I mean? And so I know if they was to see you, they'll personally say thank you. But I've got to say thank you.
Stop it!
No, seriously.
I really appreciate that. Honestly, I you know, all I'll say is that I think you put that very well. Like that, if anything, I've never really thought about it, but looking back, I mean, there's also, I was so lucky to teach in that school. Yeah, with your good self and Charlene and many others. Like it was almost a performing arts school that wasn't a performing arts school. Yeah. And I was super aware of the church background that I didn't have, that you guys were coming in. And I'm like, first lesson with you, for example, you're like so small, you know, basically strapping young women. Like, honestly, this is not an exaggeration. I think your feet barely reach the pedals. This sounds like I'm making this up.
No.
You were, you know, I don't mean you were abnormally small. You were just, that's how long ago.
Yeah.
Was it year 7 or?
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, so from the very beginning. So from the very beginning of high school. And this little guy comes in. It's like, I always like to get people straight on the kit. Lesson 1 with me, it's probably not in the teacher's handbook, but some teachers will go, right, Slip, here's a practice pad. And yeah. Which I sort of had at school. And actually some of that's good. It's good sometimes to have a bit of, make your students hungry for, great, next time I get to hit a drum. But I was just like, nah, let's get you on the drum a little bit. What can you do? And immediately I'm like, oh, okay. So I don't really need, it's not, what can I teach you? you can't already do. No, seriously. And I remember with Charlene as well, just sort of going, you have to keep your poker face as a teacher, go, great, okay, nice, you're doing it. Secretly, I was sort of thinking,
oh my gosh.
I was like, he'd be gigging already, you know. And sorry, they're long-windedly trying to pay my massive respect to whoever you got your training from. Is it the church?
Yeah, so obviously from church, and Dad played drums as well. So there was always like drumsticks and stuff in the house. But in terms of learning different styles of music, that came from you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what I want to know, I want to get into your back.
Because that's what I could teach you guys. Yeah, really, in all seriousness, I didn't need to go, oh, you know, this is a hi-hat, all of that. That would be done for
we
you.
knew all that.
I was very lucky, but also it's kind of a bit daunting because you're thinking, well, that's normally my first term is, this is a stick, this is a fulcrum, all of that.
This is a cymbal.
Yes, and you're like,
yeah.
Okay.
Man.
What do I know that you don't? Because I'm older. Maybe I've had to learn other things. And thanks for putting it so nicely. That was exactly why, although I didn't realize at the time, but you just summed that up. That's all I could do. It was like, well, yeah, I could make you into me, put that stuff to one side and do it, but there's no point. And also I was actually, you know, envious of the music that you lot were playing as young people, you know, growing up through probably slightly different system to me. And the last thing I want to do is say, don't do that, do what, you know, so it's great. So yeah, I was just trying to add on and.
That's
what a teacher does, you know. I think that's what
a good teacher.
I think so. I think that's what it's not saying I am one, but.
Oh, no, you are. But you are that teacher.
But I think that's what, I was thinking about this the other day. Because I had a break from teaching and I'm actually about to start again, but just a little bit at a school near me. And I was thinking about, because I was doing an interview and they ask you all the questions and you're like, oh, you know, trying to come up with not a cheesy answer. And I was thinking, what is a teacher? You know, like define a teacher. And I was thinking, well, it's really the only difference between a teacher and a student. That's what it was. I boiled it down to this. The teacher's more experience, right? That's it. And the teacher doesn't have to be older.
Yeah.
Because
you can learn from.
I'd come to you guys for lessons on how to light a room, right? And how to operate that camera. And you're younger than me, clearly. Believe it or not, folks. So I think that's what a teacher is, just a more experienced version of you, hopefully. And that person, and often with the experience comes the many mistakes that hopefully you won't have to make, because if your teacher is, you know, passing those lessons on to you, you might go, oh, I hopefully won't ever make that mistake that they made. You know, obviously we'll make mistakes, but
of course. So yeah, I feel it. You know?
So so there you go.
Yeah. So how did you get into music? Are you coming from a musical family? Has someone played drums in your household?
Fucking enough, Ariel. Similarly to you. Well, my dad was the drummer, but did your dad do it for a living or like really seriously?
He didn't do it for a living. He played at church, and then there was a choir that went to different countries. And so he just done that. But it was all a part of our church.
And and after you were born and all that, was he still doing that?
Yeah, he was still doing it, yeah.
Baby or the drums? Baby or the drums? Yeah. So he did.
No, he did both, but I think at that time, he was getting into more of the ministry side. Yeah, but he still played.
So that's two.
Yeah.
So my dad was just not a hobbyist, but yeah, he never did it particularly seriously. He did it when he was younger and when he was a student. And I think when I've got an older brother, when we both popped out, that was like, and that was the end of it. But as you know, you only continue with music and any artistic thing if it's your obsession, right? Am I right? I think it's a obsession in a good way. So he was it obviously didn't mean as much to him as it meant to me and to you and, you know, your drumming musical mates. So he's good though. My dad's good. I think he's pretty self-taught and all of that. And, you know, he doesn't have a kit now, but actually I put a drum kit in his house. So I needed a space. So Dad, this is for you. Secretly, it's just for me to get rid of it. But it's a nice kit. So I got into it, I suppose, like, as a little boy. Yeah, he did give me a pair of sticks. We never had drums in the house, but he gave me a pair of sticks that he kept. And also my uncle was a big influence on me. He's guitarist, just how my parents met. Like they were in a band together, and my dad ended up dating the guitarist's sister, like my mum. So, but he's an amazing guitarist, and he like wrote a #1 song. He did a lot of work with the likes of like Take That and all that in the 90s.
Wow.
That whole before your time, I will.
As you can see, I've got this lovely t-shirt here, as well as others. Tracksuit, jumpers, t-shirts, you name it. If you want to get yours, just go to www.kingsimagedesigns.co.uk. And if you want a discount, just type everything Irie for a discount. Walk in love, walk in grace, walk in fashion. Peace.
That very commercial pop sort of era, and he's a big influence on me. Just as he's an amazing guitar player, and he was one of the people who I saw doing it and was like, wow, so you can actually do this as your job, you know? Because you need people like that if you're thinking seriously about it. You need, because you've got a lot of people to convince, haven't you? Your partner, your family. People going, well, you'll never make it. There's no money in that.
But they just see it as a hobby.
That's a hobby, which is actually quite a sensible viewpoint. But so you need these people who are already doing it and going, no, you can do it. But like I said before, I think you have to, it's more than just a job, isn't it? So what's the word? Vocation, is that right? You have to have it as the only thing you want to do, I think. Yeah. Because if there's anything else you want to do, it's going to be easier than this, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah. So it is a difficult game.
I think it's, but rewarding and all of that as well. But you got to want this. And I've said that to many, and you always know when you teach, we've taught, right? You know the ones that are mad into it. They're just in their own little drum world.
Yeah.
And you recognise yourself in them.
Yeah.
You don't need to ask them, do you like the drums? You know that they...
You could just see the passion and you hear it as well. It's like, okay, you're hungry for this. You definitely want this. You know what I mean? So was there any drummers that you looked up to when you were younger? Was there any like local people that you looked up to? Or was it more from like the VHS tapes?
Yeah, it was... Well, I was definitely into music, particularly drums, I think. I gravitate towards listening to the drums, maybe more specifically compared to, I was awful. I was never listened to lyrics, and still I'm terrible at that. Even though I sing a bit now, I'm like, lyrics are my weakness. But so my ear would go to like the hi-hat, and so I was into the drums from like as early as I can remember, and that was definitely before I'd sort of seen a real life drummer, if that makes sense. So I hadn't actually seen anyone in the flesh doing drums, but I had a really good teacher in Croydon called Brian Wilshire, who was really super good drum teacher.
Yeah.
He worked for Croydon Music, actually. And so that would have been same age as you when I met him. You would have, year 7. So he was, and he was great because he ran loads. He basically kind of came into the Croydon scene and the school scene. Yeah. Put all these ensembles together, like percussion group we used to do. Yeah. But like times 20, he did loads of different ones and was really encouraging towards me. Yeah, I used to love to go, and he had a great band actually, and I'd go and watch him. But it started before that. It chooses you, doesn't it? I always say. Music chooses you.
No, it's so true. Was there any other drummers that you looked up with any VHS tapes?
So drummers like, firstly drummers that in my area there was that teacher. Yeah. And then before that there was like my favourite. I don't know if you know this guy, you probably will. But so Sting. So before there was Sting, there was the Police and Stuart Copeland.
Oh, Stuart Copeland.
Well, Stuart Copeland was like by far and away my favourite drummer, I suppose, because he's the one that got me into it, so he'll always have a special place, So Stuart Copeland, and he's a very different drummer, but you didn't know that at the time. So, oh, this guy's great. He plays like this weird mixture of like backwards, the drum, the snare, the beats on the old beat. Yeah. And obviously he was just kind of ripping off a lot of reggae stuff, but also taking it somewhere.
He just made it his own.
Yeah, he did. I mean, I like to think he's the first to admit that. He's like, hey man, I just took reggae and ran with it, and absolutely he did that. So Stuart Copeland, he was I want to be that guy, and still do, I'm still like, met a few well-known musicians, and it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I probably would be able to speak to him. I'd just be like, I love you, Stuart. So yeah, who's your Stuart Copeland then? Do you have one, or do you have?
I have two.
Right.
So I have Carvin Rogers. He actually plays for what's his name? Ron Isley, you know the Isley brothers? So he plays for them now. And Stanley Randolph, which is Stevie Wonder's.
Yeah, I know Stanley Randolph. Well, I don't know yet.
Yeah. Those are
crispy, very crispy.
those are my two favorites. I think Stanley has a special place.
Yeah.
Only because his style of play reminded me of a drummer that I used to watch. I forgot his name, but he played drums for, what's that saxophone? He's a famous saxophone player. Kenny G.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I remember there was this DVD, and I'll never forget, it's an outside concert, and this drummer's playing for Kenny G. And his pocket and style is very, very similar to Stanley. It's just how Stanley plays is like another level.
Okay. Was it different
in terms of more?
Was
It's a different generation, yeah. But it was just, but in terms of that pocket and the feel is the same, but it's just obviously Stanley's got more chops.
Cool.
But
he doesn't use them for the sake of it, is what I like about here.
Yeah. And so in terms of like
Tasteful.
the chop, obviously I do know a good chop here and there. And so I was like, so when I heard him, I was like, oh my gosh, he reminded me of...
Check that guy out then. Do you think he's aware of the other guy?
I don't know. The thing is, he's not that popular. I mean, he's passed away now.
So he's a bit slightly obscure guy.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know who else. I'm not sure who else he played for, but when I heard them, I was like,
They've got a thing.
yes, it's very, very, very similar. They're quite big the same way. They're quite big. So yeah, those are my two people. And
Choice.
yeah. Well, do you remember your first gig?
What, to being at the first gig?
No, playing your first gig. What was it like? What was the feeling?
It would have been
practice.
Well, what counts as a gig? Like school, it would have been. I'd say as I tell you about like the first sort of
Actually, I'm gonna say outside of school.
outside school. Okay, well, I was going to cheat slightly here. So at junior school, which is Woodside Junior School in not far from not far from South Norwood, that kind of area. Yeah. We had steel pans. And so how old are you at junior school? Anyway, quite young.
11.
Way before a drum kit, I'd ever been near a drum kit. And I was in the steel pans group, don't know what they even call it. Woodside Steel Pans. Ensemble or some silly word. Group, right? And so my first gig would have probably, if you can call it that, like I said, it's a cheat because it was school related, but we probably did like Croydon Christmas Fair, right? And we probably set up outside the Whitgift Centre in the freezing cold. And
mine was Tesco. I remember that.
Who was that with?
My school.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He was
fine. You're out.
Yeah.
But that is often the way. And so, yeah, that would have been it. And then there was no drum kit player in that steel orchestra or whatever. But then I remember when I was at high school, so I went to Edenham, which doesn't exist anymore, another school, this is so long ago. Edenham up in Shirley, if you know that area.
Yeah.
And there is like an after-school club. Anyway, I did steel pans at Stanley Tech School, which is probably not called that anymore.
It's how it is.
Yeah, you know the one on the corner of the old building?
Exactly what it is, yeah.
And we had this amazing guy who I must name check called Ricky DeCaros, who was like just this amazing man, didn't say very much. And he wasn't particularly giggles and sunshine, but he was an amazing teacher. And he was a Caribbean guy, right? I don't really know much about him actually, but he was like the band leader of the Steel Pans Orchestra. And people my age, would know this guy because he was important to a lot of us. And what was brilliant about him was that everything was, and I think this was essential for me, everything was memorized. It wasn't like often the classical route is learn to read music, study your part. I'm not knocking that, but you learn it a lot deeper, don't you, when you've got no bits of paper? Because it's a bit like, do you follow your sat nav when you're driving, or do you go use your street smarts?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's a left here. because I remember this.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of it's a different way of learning. So we had this amazing guy, and he'd just come around and he'd have your steel pans. I often played a thing called double seconds. So you'd have a pair of them, and it wasn't like the melody line, it was like the harmony, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Sometimes a counter melody. So it's quite complex and quite bitty as well. It wasn't just like you've got the tune. It was like you've got the bit that colours the tune and all that. And he'd just come around and go, give me a stick and give them back to you. Like, he'd never say anything. And you go,
Like, what do I do now? Yeah.
No, take them off you again. You know, he wasn't being horrible. He was just, that was his sort of.
That's just how he was.
And yeah, so that guy. And we did. Sorry, I'm rambling here, but we did gigs, sort of more giggy gigs with him, because it was Croydon School's Steel Pans, I think it was. So all the kids from all the schools would go, and that was good because I got to mix with a lot of different schools, and I was like a really runty little kid, you know. There's a lot of these really intimidating, but again, this is cheesy, but you know, what brought us all together, different backgrounds, was, okay, we're all here, we've all got to learn these really hard parts for this guy. And at that thing, there was a drum kit. And I remember it was like a Premier drum kit, had like really cheap Paiste cymbals. I love Paiste cymbals now, and but they were like the cheapest ones, you know. All school cymbals are awful, right? We all know that.
The brass ones.
They're always the brass ones.
Yeah.
And I remember like just drooling over this, go, oh my God, there's a drum kit, you know, and I had to wait ages before I could be accepted on the kit. And then, you know, that look of acknowledgement when people are trying not to like acknowledge that you're musical in any way. And then you do well, you play a little bit of drum kit and they're like, okay. They still won't acknowledge it, but you notice that they've clocked you, and then sort of slightly your relationship changes a bit. And it's like, oh, this guy's all right, you know, his groove is all right. And it's just a really weird thing. I wonder if that's a drummer thing, like initiation through,
Maybe.
can you play a groove in front of these people? Anyway, so that was, yeah, we did gigs with them.
When did you know that, okay, you can actually make a living out of this?
Okay. Still haven't found that out, IRL. Still haven't done it fair. It's still a non-profit drummer. So that's a good one the other day. I was thinking, that's quite a good gag. Yeah, I'm a non-profit musician. Oh, that's so nice of you. No, how I want the money, but I just never make any. So yeah, the first gig after that, again, this would have been like, so I wasn't in bands until I was about 16, and that was at school. So yeah, okay, first proper gig as a sort of a band would have been at like, call it a, after you do your GCSEs, there's that long summer, isn't there? Everyone's going to parties, if you're lucky, and all of that. And you're in this weird thing, but, oh, I've left school and I'm going to do A-levels or whatever. So yeah, it would have been like a friend's party with my mates when we were about 16. But as well as that, I was doing all the sort of Croydon after-school music things. And there was a Croydon Youth Jazz Orchestra. And we opened the Purleyway IKEA. That's how long ago it was. We played at the opening of IKEA, which is really funny, like looking back, you know. I now declare this shop open. Someone's snipping a ribbon and
Yeah.
play this little jazz gig. So yeah, that was quite a big deal. I think we got paid for that. So that would have been my first paying gig. We were in like a tenner each, but
What was it like at that time?
pretty good. Back in 1971. Oh, you know, that was 10 quid. Yeah.
That was a lot.
So I don't know if that was when to answer your other question, was that when I realised it? I tell you what, I think I always was going to do drums as a job, but I don't know if there's a moment where maybe getting some cold hard cash in my hand.
Yeah, £10. Like, yeah, I can do this for a living now.
I get this
Yeah.
for doing that.
Because there's only
Little did I
because there's some people like when they get on their first tour, when they get the first tour, they realise, okay, I can actually make a living.
Yeah.
Or when they see someone doing it, they're like, hold on, you make money out of playing drums. And it's like, okay, well, if you can do it, then I can do it. So people just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, this is why you need these people like my uncle when I was little.
Yeah.
I can remember going to his band rehearsal. It was like the loudest thing. Really exciting though. Like, you know, that real excitement when you're at, if you can remember, like the first time you heard just a really good band. And I can't remember how young I was, but, And that was a pivotal moment. I remember looking at the drummer, and he was a good drummer actually. Can't even remember his name, I'm afraid. And he let me. He could tell, because you can tell, can't you?
Yeah.
I'm eyeing up the kit, and my uncle's like, I'll just sit there, and he was like babysitting me or something. This is up in Sheffield, where my mum's family are from, and he was like, "Oh, you're right. To come to my route. I've got to do this rehearsal. You're right to come with me too." I was like, "Yeah." Anyway, and they're all like, everyone, so older people, and it was a little bit intimidating. I remember just clocking the drum kit, and the drummer was really nice, and he immediately knew. And then in the break, he's like, "Do you want to go and sit on the drums?" I was like, "Oh, really? Can I? Yes, please, mister." And just like my feet dangling, not reaching the pedal. And it was like a nice Yamaha. It had a double kick, which is quite a double kick pedal, which was pretty unheard of back then. Talking like a long time ago. And I was too nervous to play it, so I just on the pedals. And he was like, "Come on, you can play." And I was like, "Nah, I don't want to." So chicken out.
You got nervous.
So that was maybe that, and getting that tenor at IKEA.
And you realise,
buying my first hot dog with my gig.
Hey, the hot dogs are cheap then.
They were.
I remember it being 50p.
Cost of living now.
So how did you get into teaching? Because you've been doing this a long time. I came in 2002 and you were there beforehand. And then and you were teaching afterwards as well.
That's right.
So where did that passion come from teachers?
So the teaching, as with a lot of people, is part necessity. I'm going to be honest with you.
No, please.
Part necessity, because you need, you've got your rent to pay, and you've got your 1 gig a month that pays 40 quid. And you're like, "Oh, that's not going to go very far. So what can I do that's almost gigging? Teaching." And then you realise actually it's really good for you and you like it.
Yeah.
Some of it you don't like, but that's every job, right? And then you don't like every gig either, so that's fine. So getting to the teaching, I think probably I was, I went to Trinity Music College. That was like my last formal education. So what happens is, as you know, you leave someone like that, and then no gigs, this is good. I've got a piece of paper saying I've passed, but I've got no work. So you go, "Does anyone need any teaching covered?" So I probably covered for like a friend.
Yeah.
Like you may have done this. "Ariel, can you cover my teaching tomorrow? I've got COVID or whatever." So, and then probably after that, would have applied to where I was living at the time. So let's say if I was living here, it would have been Croydon Music Service. And then I got, Croydon Music Service was how I got the school that you were at, St. Andrews. Oh, my stomach's rumbling. And then it just grows, doesn't it? If you're any good, or if you're, various reasons. Luckily, the drums is one of the few instruments that are still popular at schools. I used to be like, so many teachers at St. Andrews: French horn teacher, bassoon teacher, viola.
Yeah, it was, oh my gosh.
Actual specialist. I only teach one brass instrument, and now it's like, brass teacher if you're lucky, and they have to teach everything, which is a bit of a shame, but, nothing stays the same, does it? But, so I just fell into it through that, and then it grows, doesn't it? And then you've got too much. You're like, I need to get rid of some of it.
Yeah.
But it's the good thing about it is it's, luckily for us drummers, seems to still be alive and kicking, doesn't it?
It is.
Quite being replaced yet by an app. We don't know.
No, hopefully not. Because one of the things that I got from you, I've learned so much. And one of the things...
Just since... No, go on.
Stop. One of the things that I've got from you, obviously I learned a lot. And one of the things that I'll always remember is us doing a showcase. And I remember this showcase for 3 reasons. One, it was a Ray Charles tune. They were playing the blues. And the second reason why I remember it is because one of the students' parents decided that they wanted to be fresh and say to me, "Oh, you done good, but you're a bit extra. You don't need to do all of that." I won't say his father that was Ryan.
Possibly.
Yeah, but obviously I was like, hold on, I could be using all my energy to be on the street or do something negative.
Yes.
I'm here on this Thursday evening, or it might have been Tuesday evening, and I'm playing drums, playing my heart out. And then you have to say, I'll play extra. And it was at that point I said, you know what? I don't care what you think. I just said, okay. And obviously he came up and said, no, Dad. I said, no. This is what I love to do. This is my passion.
Excellent.
I'm going to put everything into it. If you don't like it, buzz off.
Yeah.
But the third thing, what I got from that as well, I was like, you know what? With I teach, this is what I want to do, because, like I said, where I'm coming from, a lot of the students that I teach, anyway, they're from a church background, but not all of them are. So those who are in the church those who are from a church background, they have a platform. They can play at church. Okay. Those who don't, they don't have a platform to, perform in front of their aunties, their grandparents, and so forth. So I said, you know what? That's something I want to do. And it was a success. Right. I remember, because the thing is, I remember doing that event, and I only put out like 13 chairs. I said, let me just go to the shop and come back. It was packed. I'm like, what was going on? But it was, it was because we done the showcase that we done in St Andrews. And the third thing why I remember,
fresh back to the other side of that,
the third thing why I remember that is, I still couldn't believe that you played another instrument. I'm thinking, hold on, where do you get time?
No.
You was on the piano. I'm like, how do you get time to be so good at drums, do gigs as well? Because you were doing stuff outside of teaching, and then be good at the piano. I couldn't wrap my mind of how did you get the time to do all of that? So that's what I remember. And so, I just want to say again, thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. Because I remember it. Because at that time, I wasn't exposed to blues. So like I said, you were the first person.
I do remember, we probably played that because selfishly, I was probably thinking, well, I know like 1-2 things on the piano. It's that, or it's going to be like Happy Birthday or something. So I was like, well, that's Ray Charles is a bit hipper than that. So yeah. And I was,
yeah, because I remember it because like I said, I've never played blues. And you were the first person that has taught me a different style of music. So I'm getting into it. So I think that's why the guy thought I was a bit extra. That's like, oh my gosh, I'm going for it.
Well,
you know what I mean?
That's funny. It's funny that you remember what you said as well. But yeah, I remember.
Oh, I'll never forget that. I was just like, man, that crushed me, man.
You never, also, it's funny, the older you get, you never stop getting people like that. And often they mean well, but it's just like, think about what you're saying before you say it. So it's young and impressionable, but now that we're older, it's like, it doesn't matter. But but funny you mentioned Ray Charles. Like Ray Charles is super one of my top all-time favorite people because of the mixture of music. Like this is an African American guy who's releasing country albums, right, in America at pretty. Not that race relations are great, of course, even now, but they've moved on, hopefully for the better, slightly. Best not to talk about that now. We're not going to go down that poor America. Well, America can't even talk about it. But Ray Charles was pretty daring releasing country music as a person of color back then. Do you know what I mean? Like you're still getting, people of color in the entertainment industry not allowed in through the front of the venue. Like you got to go around the back. It's well documented. Yeah. And this is going on then, and only maybe like the top handful of artists in that category were accepted. I'm talking about like casinos and and music venues. So that's not very long ago that was happening. So Ray Charles always had massive
respect,
admiration for musically, but also like he had some some big old balls doing that.
Yeah.
This is like. Country music, has a bit of a reputation, and I'm not suggesting that there's any, racism in that world. But at the time,
it was a stereotype.
That the country world was maybe not accepting of the black music world, and vice versa, maybe. So he was cool to do that. And actually, they're really good, those country and western albums. I know it sounds, a lot of people go, not checking those out, maybe. But they're really good. They're like some of my favorite versions of those songs. And he was just saying, basically he was saying with that, doing that, good music is good music.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what colour the person is doing it or what culture the music's come out of. You know, white person can play music from this place, and you know, people of colour can play all of that.
Vice versa, yeah.
But yeah, it's just cool that he did it with country. I think it's pretty funny. Yeah.
That is cool, yeah.
So Ray Charles.
So what challenges have you faced being a musician? Because sometimes, we look at the Instagram posts or the drum kit, the stadiums, the glitz and glams. But what challenges have you faced being a musician, and how did you overcome it, or are you still overcoming? How?
Very good question. So the biggest challenge, I think, for me and possibly most people who are doing this and self-employed people in general, is just sort of juggling of it all, because you don't have a 9 to 5. The most regular sort of reliable work you're probably going to get is a bit of teaching often, and even that is, as you know, sometimes school trip on Monday you can't teach. Oh no. Got to move your teaching day to the Wednesday, but on the Wednesday you were meant to be doing a recording, and then everything gets pushed out of sync, and then you're like damage control, aren't you? You're trying to I believe they call it putting out fires in the business world. Spend the day putting out fires. So that's a challenge. And juggling, keeping your partner happy, convincing them that you do love them, but you can't be with them on your anniversary because you've got to really taste the gig.
Yeah.
But this gig's so good, eh? And, luckily I've been very lucky there. But so that is the challenge. It's, I think, keeping a sense of normality. Would you agree with that or not? You don't have to agree, but
no, that's true.
So a pretty alternative lifestyle, and it's great. And it's, we do it because we love it. But, and also, there's times when there's not many, just lean times where you're not making very much money. And that can be a stress. So the best thing to do is just to try not to worry, because you can't predict. You've got no control over that stuff.
What happens, especially as a musician.
So all you can do is, someone said this, they would have put it a lot wiser than this, but so you can never control that stuff, the stuff that's out of your control. Yeah. So all you can do is you can't change stuff that's out of your control, but you can change how you react to things out of your control.
Yeah.
Am I right? So you can just not let that stress you out, which is difficult at times. So yeah, that's been my main thing. But
yes. So how did you get into being an artist? So you play different instruments. Yeah. You've got your Greek von Kleet. How did you get into being an artist?
So I was just always writing bits of music.
Yeah.
Since I was probably like secondary school, because you get your hands on a keyboard, don't you?
A
few bits and pieces, and guitar. There's a beaten up guitar with 2 strings missing, the classic, it doesn't stay in tune.
Yeah.
So that started at school really, and I was in bands, but as the drummer. But I'd always annoy everyone in the band by going, "Oh, let's have a go on your bass." Like in the break, you'd grab someone's bass and dum dum, play really really shoddy bass line, and that was always, I loved that. I loved that kind of, it's like learning the drums all over again. Because, you learn an instrument. Part of the magic sounds really jaded. I'm not jaded about it, but you never get that experience again, do you? Once you've mastered something on the drums, or not mastered it, but once you can play a groove.
Yeah.
So where do you go from there? Well, I was sort of pick up another instrument, and it's that whole thing all over again. Okay. Sometimes it's torture, because you're like, how come I can play the drums quite
stressful,
easily? Yeah. But so that was sort of, for me, that was like the best fun, trying to figure it out. And I loved actually being self-taught on those instruments. And weirdly,
what instruments was it?
So like guitar, keyboard, bass. But I mean, I wouldn't ever go for an audition on those instruments. But I always would say to people, I can play singer-songwriter level guitar, if that makes any sense to you. So I can back myself on those instruments. I'm a chord guy, but I can't play lead guitar, and I just don't have that.
Can get by.
I can get by, I could play keys, but I would never go for a gig audition on the keys. But I could say it's a second instrument and probably get by. But yeah.
If you are looking for a dynamic duo, quartet, or a full live band for your event, or if you are an artist and need musicians, then please contact us on www.musiciansforyou.co.uk.
What was your reaction like when you got a call to play for Van Morrison? Was you nervous, excited?
Good question. Funnily enough, I was teaching at St Andrews, where the reason we know each other. I was teaching, not you, somebody. You might have left by then, actually. I was teaching somebody and, looked at my phone. Oh, okay, missed call, unknown numbers. Oh, okay, probably a spam. And then there was a text, there's everything, voicemail, text, email, same person. Oh, well, this is a genuine, someone's trying to get hold of me. So, in my next break, nipped out to the corridor and, it was a voicemail from his musical director, who's a guy called Paul Moran, who's a friend of mine now, I'm happy to say. But I didn't know him at all. I didn't know any of his band, actually. And I thought this is a wind-up. Like, what? I'm teaching drums in a school. And, it was just weird because I didn't know. I would have believed it if it was, I knew one person in his band, because I would have gone, oh, so-and-so's recommending me. But it was like, well, this is really random. But I still think when the call came through, I was like, was probably genuine, because why would someone make that up?
Yeah.
Why would they try and do that? So, yeah. And I remember I rang him like at lunchtime or whatever. And he was like, yeah, someone recommended you. And then it made sense because it was a guitar player that had done a session, but not a gig. So it was more of a session player rather than a live player, as it were.
Yeah.
Who said, oh yeah, you should try Mez maybe. And I was really excited. And I think preparing for that audition, like I'd never paid for anything as thoroughly in my whole life. I was like, I must get this job. I just remember that was like a pivotal moment for me, really, because I thought it's the first thing of that magnitude that come through,
Yeah.
So it was very exciting, and also all the things, terrifying, exciting, nerves, sort of who knew chaps, and you
managed to get that. Was it like with Madness as well? Was that a call, or you have to audition for that as well?
That was sort of similar. So that was through so Madness have there's a lot of people in the band, but their sax player Lee Thompson had a side project called the Lee Thompson Ska Orchestra. Self-explanatory what kind of music they played. And they had a really good drummer, but he emigrated to, luckily for me, to Australia. So about as far as you can move from London.
Yeah.
And my friend from college, Joe, was trying to do this concisely. He plays in the Madness brass section, so therefore knows Lee, the sax player.
Yeah.
And Lee said, Joe, my drummer's moved to blooming Australia, mate. Do you know anyone? And my mate Joe, luckily for me, said, yes, my mate Mez, he's a massive ska fan, Madness fan, he can play that style. So I was really lucky there. That was, again, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
So I was really lucky there. And so I auditioned for that band, the side project band, and sort of got that gig. And never in my wildest dreams thought I'd play for Madness, who incidentally are like my favourite band of all time, other than the Police.
Yeah.
And so I got into it bit by bit, about 3 or 4 years of, and like I said, I didn't do it with any notion of ever. I was just happy to be playing with one of Madness and getting the odd chance to maybe meet one of the others because they hang out together and I'd sort of tag along. So then I got into Madness because they did an album, and they did it in a sort of retro studio where you couldn't really overdub. So they wanted a percussionist to track with the drummer. Yeah. Old school, just bit of wood between you, like a partition.
Yeah.
And Lee, the sax player, sort of said, "Oh, Mez plays percussion." So again, that's why you should always play percussion, isn't it, Irene?
Yeah.
No, that's why I was banging on to you probably at school.
Always.
It's another reason, because it's like you can't just be, I'm a drums only guy.
They have to be about stuff. Yeah.
So there you go. So that was a longer process, but
cool. So wrapping up, one last main question. What advice would you give to young drummers?
Yes.
What advice would you give them who wants to play music full time?
So exactly what I just said. Like number one piece of advice. Okay, so this is for if you're hoping to do this for a living. I don't really like the word professional because it has I find that word a bit. I've found that word abused quite a lot. I'm a professional. It doesn't really mean anything, right? It just means that you're taking someone's money for doing. It doesn't necessarily mean you're any good. I think there's lots of professional everything's out there, and some are good, some aren't good, and we all know those people. So if you do, I like to not use that phrase and say, if you're wanting to do music for a living, but let's be more specific, drums. My number one bit of advice is be as what's the word? Oh gosh, my brain's gone back. Versatile.
Versatile, yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Try and be as versatile as you can. And also, joint number one bit of advice: say you sing backing vocals, even if you don't. It's not a lie. If you've got a voice, if you can speak, you can do backing vocals, right? You're not saying you're any good, but you can have a mic next to you and go ooh or whatever. So always, always, always say that. And if you know you're not very good at singing, work on your singing, because I got that Van Morrison gig because they needed specifically a singing drummer. So I probably would never have got that phone call. I doubt it if they would have phoned me over all the zillions of amazing drummers. But they were like, well, we need someone who's versatile, but they have to sing. And that was a big part of my audition. So anyone who's thinking about doing this for a living, as in, you'll need to be employable. So you got to be employable. I don't think drums is always enough, unless you are just like
very good
that person who's just and I wasn't that guy. I was an all-rounder. I was like, I drummed, I played a bit of guitar, and I love music, and that helps. But so I'd say do that. I'd say vocals, because you don't need to buy anything to say you do. You don't need to buy a guitar, do you? If you're a drummer, this is free, right?
Yeah, vocals is free.
And half the time, they say we need a backing vocalist. Half the time, you don't have to do that much. You sort of
about oohs and ahs every night.
And even then, sometimes they go, oh, actually, we don't need that anymore. But then you've got the gig already. You've already got the gig over the person who's...
Yeah, just was play the drums. But
I'm not saying go around lying and saying fake it till you make it and all that, but there's a degree of like, just say you do and just work on your singing, because also they're so linked, drumming and singing.
Yeah.
Sure. So that's my advice. Do that. I'm not going to bother with all the drumming, learning. That goes without saying. Obviously, learn your instrument,
of course.
But there's more to it than that.
Yeah. Right. So we've got into a special segment, the Irie segment. So, what is your go-to gear? What's your go-to gear?
Go-to gear. What do you want? Like, who makes it or something?
So you've got a gig. What gear are you using?
Okay. Right. So I'm going to be completely honest with you. So the older I get, the smaller I want my gear to be, and the lighter I want it to be. So when you're 15, you want like a massive gear. So now I go for, most of the time, an 18-inch bass drum. So 2 toms, like the classic.
What brand?
Jazz kit. So I'm really lucky. I have an endorsement with DW drums.
Of course, yes.
That are amazing. So I generally, this is for like a freelance gig. So someone rings me up, can you play this gig at blah, 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 right? So I'm driving my own gear to the gig, which is, I'm very happy to do. And I do a lot of, it'll be, what's the smallest kit that I can play in this venue?
That's a DW kit.
Yeah, that'll be a DW. So we've got the DW Jazz Series.
What cymbals?
So Piety cymbals. Again, I'm super lucky that I have an endorsement with them.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know, it's hard to choose. I like them all, the Pisces. They're really...
No, they have some very good cymbals. I just don't for them. But that's not for a cymbal.
They are inexpensive. But, the gear thing is, as you know, it's not what you play, it's the way that you play it. And, going back to those cymbals in my steel pan band, they were like Pisces 200s or something.
I remember those.
But that was good.
Tutor 2, I think.
Something like that. Like,
Yeah,
they were
something like that, yeah.
very low number. So I'd probably go for. I really like the I like the Masters series. They're so expensive, but they're good. And I like the Giant Beat symbols actually, which are quite retro. So yeah,
Wow.
DW Feisty.
What's that you use?
Vincent. I use this company called Vincent actually, but with a W.
Yeah,
It's Swedish. And yeah,
I think Charlene uses those. She's endorsed by.
that's right.
Yes,
She is.
yes.
Yeah, and played. Do the job very nicely.
Job, yeah. As long as they do the job,
They do.
cool, yeah. Right. Next question is: what 5 DVDs or CDs have greatly impacted your life?
Good question.
One has to be drum related. The rest could just be, something that you listened to as a child.
Oh, okay. 5. Okay. So it'd be the Police first album. It'll be Madness first album. Like if I have to choose, it'd be the first one of each because that's the first ones I heard.
You knew, yeah.
So there's me 3 things left. Oh man. Okay.
One has to be drum related, or would you say the Police is more?
So like instructional DVDs and things like that. Let me think. There's a really good one that's a bit obscure. It's a New Orleans like instruction DVD.
Yeah.
Which has about 5 drummers on it that really was interesting for me. Herlin Riley, who plays with Wynton Marsalis, he's on it. A guy called Herman Ernest. Yeah. The guy who played with Little Richard, Earl Palmer, who's like and played with millions of people. So yeah, okay, so that's 3. I'd say Otis Redding, sounds lame, Greatest Hits. It's called Dock of the Bay, Greatest Hits.
Yeah.
Because he has so many albums. So that drummer.
I don't even know you.
Al Jackson Jr. So he was like part of the was it Atlantic record label, so Aretha Franklin, all of those people. And Stax, all of that. He was a studio drummer, so the artists would just come in one after the other and they'd be a band that just backed them, the same band. Booker T and the MGs. So Al Jackson Jr. is one of my top drummers of all time, and I reckon you could learn everything about drums from that Otis Redding CD. All the groove. All the groove. Yeah, one more. Don't know. Right, CD or
Or VHS or DVD.
I don't listen to them as much now, but I was really into the Chili Peppers when I was about 14, 15. So it would have been there, like they had a live thing. And that was before they were properly huge. They were way obscure. Nobody was buying Chili Peppers back then. It was just like, don.
That's quite funky, that funky rock.
Yeah. Into the funk stuff, but kind of came in through. Yeah, so that would be the 5th one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So we have a game now.
Oh,
guys,
like it.
It's just a game. So if you're playing for some of these artists, please do not be offended. It is just a game.
Oh, no.
Right. So I have a list of names of artists, UK and American.
Oh, no.
Now, the only rule is it has to be a UK drummer.
Okay.
Now, if I just so happen to pick a UK drummer, and a UK artist, and the drummer just so happens to be from the UK, and you want to keep them, you can do that.
Okay.
Only rule to this game, it has to be a UK drummer. Okay. I don't know what's going to be picked. I've got a generator.
Okay.
So let's pick. Let's do the first one. We're going to do 4. Okay.
Terrified.
Yeah.
Well, general knowledge is terrible.
What UK drummer is playing for Herbie Hancock? What UK drummer?
UK drummer? Is there a UK drummer play for Herbie Hancock now?
No. Oh, you can pick whatever you.
Oh, I put someone in the frame.
Yeah. Who would you pick? If you want to pick yourself, you can.
Absolutely not. You're joking. Okay. Who's that guy? Herbie Hancock.
What UK?
I mean, so we're talking about Vinny here, aren't we? Because Vinny's done loads of stuff with him.
Yeah, but it has to be UK drummer. UK drummer.
Who's that guy? Kaz?
Kaz Rodriguez, yes.
He's like, I'm really out of touch with who the, blazing.
UK drummer, yeah. That's a good choice.
Favorite, like, am I like, could it be you, or could it be Charlene? Could it be one of my ex-pupils?
It could be, as long as they're from the UK, but I'm going to go with Kaz. We've got three more.
Okay, all right.
We've got three more. That's a very good choice. All right, Shaggy.
Shaggy.
What UK drummer would you get to play for Shaggy?
That's a tough one. Let's just make me feel so old because I don't have anybody current. You're going to go, you've missed out all these people. But Shaggy, he did something with Sting recently, which was really unusual.
Yeah.
Like, everyone was like, what? Including, myself. Nothing wrong with that, of course.
Yeah.
UK drummer for Shaggy. How well does the gig pay? I'm going to put you in for that one.
All right.
So I'm picking you. I reckon that would be a good earner.
Yeah, no, that would be. We got two more. I appreciate that. All right. What UK drummer would you get to play for Queen?
Oh, for Queen. Right, okay. So it can't be Roger Taylor then. Can't be their drummer.
If you want to keep them, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, just for fun, let's pick someone who isn't their drummer. So... I would like a drummer that is a female person in Queen, just to mix things up. So I have to pick Charlene then, don't I? I have to pick one of my other pupils.
Yeah.
She's going to get the gig.
Yeah.
Because you're both MDs, aren't you? You and her. You musically direct.
Yeah.
It's like Roger Taylor's very sort of...
It's quite hands-on.
Yeah, big with the vocals. Okay, there you go. I solved that.
Yeah, one more.
Keep it both sweet there.
All right, one more. Black Eyed Peas.
Black Eyed Peas.
What UK drummer would you get?
I blew my recommendations too early there. The Peas.
Black Eyed Peas.
Oh, it's just too hard. What, have you ever any thoughts on that?
I have who I think would be good, but it's up to you. Or if you want to go back and change a drummer, you can.
No, well, let's stick with it.
Who would you get for Black Eyed Peas?
I would say whoever just won Young Drummer of the Universe UK, whatever it is. What's the thing that's every year?
Young Drummer of the Year.
I'd pick someone, I'd just try and give it to someone who's really hungry, someone who's really young, and say, it's quite a nice gig. Because there'll probably be like up on the technical stuff, and I imagine there'll be a bit of like, electronics involved in that. Most of the young people are much better at it, So yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So think of it like that, yeah. I'm going to gift it to a young person.
No, that's a very good choice. Very good choice. This is what
I like that game. This is a good game.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. This is the most nerve-wracking part of this whole thing.
Oh, it is. But I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out to do this interview. I just had to do it. I was thinking about this podcast for a while, and I was like,
thank you so much.
If I do it, I have to get you. And so I really, really appreciate you taking the time out to do it, man. So
the feeling's mutual, honestly. Like, I was so, it's made it all those years of teaching really worthwhile.
Yeah.
And it's great to see. Yeah. That's the highest, it's, what's the word? It's the highest honor to see one of the people that you used to give drum lessons to doing really well and still doing it. And still loving it. That's like mission accomplished, because that's all you can ask for as a teacher, isn't it? Yeah. Is that they go, is that you don't put them off? Yeah. Great, I didn't put him off. Good. Yeah, that's it. You did all right. So yeah. Appreciate it. I wish you every success. I'll be following you very closely. No, I've got any gigs, Ariel. You driver.
No, thank you.
Did a roadie.
No, we appreciate it, man. No, come on, man. So how can people find you? Where can people find you? I've got a website. It's a bit old-fashioned, yeah. So mezdrums.com. Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. Everything's on there.
mezdrums.com.
There you go.
So thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next episode.